Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. So I want you to get your sketchbooks out and I want you to get your pens and your pencils because today I'm going to teach you how to sketch creature claws. So you're probably thinking there's endless possibilities about how we can draw sharp claws, blunted claws, thick toenails, thin toenails, because there are countless combinations of creatures that we can invent. But instead of throwing a bunch of anatomical terms at you that I'm going to force you to memorize, I'm going to teach you how to build claws up from an organic point of view. Okay, we're just talking about seeing what shapes look good together as you start doodling. Sometimes these shapes don't work out as well as we had hoped, and other times we hit a home run and we think that we're lucky and we're never going to be able to reproduce that for another creature foot or hand or what have you. So what I'm doing here is I'm just sketching in a larger shape here. This is the top of the creature's hand, and I'm envisioning 3 separate fingers. Now whenever I am drawing a creature, I typically start with the head first. That's just my personal preference. I know many of you may start with the tail or some cool spikes on the back, or maybe the mouth where all the awesome teeth are. I like doing the head because it gives me a sense of, okay, does it have sharp teeth? Is it old? Is it a warrior? Is it an adolescent creature? Is it a baby? It gives me an opportunity to say, all right, it's a predator. It has sharp teeth. Probably needs sharp claws then, and it just kind of dictates it from there. But anyway, since we're starting with the hand, for me and what I'm drawing here, I don't get a sense that this thing is very deadly. It doesn't scream long, gangly, sharp fingernails needed. Instead, maybe it can get some rather blunted yet harder digging nails. Let's just do that. So how would we draw that? Well, whenever you're drawing fingers, try to accentuate the knuckle joints. I like making them stick out more than the actual shaft of the finger. Now, I'm not throwing a lot of anatomy terms at you, okay? I just want you guys to focus on the shape and learning how to go from one marking to the other and building up shapes through trial and error. I mean, I'm a self-taught artist. I've been drawing all my life, so a lot of these things I've had to learn by self-teaching. I'm sure a lot of you watching right now are also self-taught. And yes, I've studied anatomy books and I've obsessed about animals and stuff. But even before that, I would just doodle and doodle and doodle. I would take my sketchbooks to the zoo and draw it. Draw the animals and whatever I saw. What I'm doing here is I'm blunting the end of the finger before the nail comes on. A common problem that a lot of beginner artists have is when they draw the finger, let's just say from side view, okay, so let's say this is the ground, okay, and you got the padding at the end of the finger before the nail grows out. Beginners don't give enough flesh, fat tissue, and even bone structure for the nail to grow out of. That's a big thing. Now, there are instances, and I do this, if I'm drawing something demonic or something insectoid, where the end of the finger is literally just a big sharp nail. There is no fleshy buildup. There's no cuticle. There's no aging skin being stretched out. That's the excuse that you can give on that particular type of creature. But if you want to make something mammalian and organic looking, well, maybe organic isn't the right term. If you want to make it look like it has structure and it's growing out of an underlying bone, or you want to give some space and a shape that it can grow out of. So a lot of times if you're trying to come up with a really neat looking set of fingers or appendages, or even a foot for your creature, even the hoof coming out, if it's just one single hoof, make sure that the structure around the hoof looks like it houses the hoof. There's no other way to put that. I see it all the time where beginners will just make nails come out of places that shouldn't be growing it. So notice how it's not really a sharp claw, it's kind of blunted at the end. But notice how I gave the curvature like it almost looks like a lizard claw. Okay, it's coming out like this. See how the walls of flesh are both below it and above it? It's giving that rounded effect to where if I were to look at this finger from the front or the side, we can put it on one of these. Okay, so this fleshy part is actually right here in the front. Now, since we're viewing the nail from the top view, we're not going to see much of it since the finger is pointed down and almost towards the creature's palm. Okay, it's kind of like hooking underneath like that. So you don't need to show much of it. But the same principle applies. I want everybody to look real quick. Do you see this, the skin folding up above it right where the cuticle would exist? Well, that's going to exist right here, but that padding encircles the entire nail, no matter where it is in space. So that means that it's coming out on our right and our left past the wall of the nail. That is the essence of what makes fingers and toes look realistic on your creatures. And couple that and build it up with accentuating the joints, and you have yourself not only a stylized looking hand, but something that grabs attention and something that looks like, you know, it could grip something. Now I noticed something as I've been explaining this. This middle finger is pointing straight down, but I have the wrist going to our right. That's incorrect. The wrist would need to be coming up like this. So I had to correct my perspective there real quick. I mean, it could, but I mean, you guys try that right now. Put your pencils down and put your hand at an angle, but turn your middle finger. It just feels weird. But anyway, okay, so we did the middle one. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring out some of the tendons. You know, you got your carpal bones up here in the wrist. Okay, you got your knuckles, and you got your stretched skin. You got your tendons. Okay, notice how I'm just lightly putting in the indication of tendons. Got your ligaments, and I like to put some thicker skin folds right here on the knuckle, because again, it helps accentuate where the knuckle is, but also in places where the skin could be dried. I mean, think about your own hands and why the skin folds up around the knuckles. You know, that you have to think about why skin grows around bone and muscle the way it does. All right, so let's take a look at what this finger's doing over here. So I'm going to keep that same principle while it's fatter than the actual nail, but notice the direction. Okay, this nail is coming out to our side, so in a little bit smaller of fashion, I'm going to hook the nail into our right. See how it's coming in this way? That's because that's the way the finger is bent. So you have to imagine it going like this. And then the middle finger is going straight down. And then this one over here may be slightly different than this one. You don't want to make it symmetrical. Okay? Keep that true essence of organics, I guess you could call it. I'm trying to get all technical. Okay, and then let's bend this nail right about there, but maybe I'm going to make this one a little sharper, a little different. All right, there we go. Oh, you know what I have to do? I have to do that one now. What did I do? Okay, so it's not quite the same nail as this one, but it's following the same rule. We won't see the tip. We won't see these sharp tips on this middle one. But what we do have now is a hand that looks like there's some power to it. That's another problem that beginners have, and there's the fingers themselves lack gesture, they lack movement, and there's so much opportunity in character and creature design in putting movement and character in the hands. All right, This is why in old master paintings you can see portraiture and just full body figure drawings from the old masters. You'll see the emphasis that they put on the hands. We've got a motorcycle going by. I'm filming this in the evening. It's almost 10 p.m. My boys are asleep, and I get, this is like quiet time, so I'm just doodling this and trying to explain how to draw creature hands, and I hope that this is helping. Again, like I stated in the very beginning, there are countless and countless combinations and different types of fingers that you guys can do for your creatures. So the other thing that I wanted to talk about to go along with drawing claws is, what if your claw is long and sharp? How would you make that come out of the creature's hand? Well, let's just say your creature only has like one finger. Maybe it has a giant one. I don't know. So let's not make it like this. Let's make it kind of fatter and more bulbous at the tip. And let's get wild with it. Why not have two almost fang-like claws coming out? Now I want to show you the secret to making this believable. That is not a thumb. I'm just going to draw another sharp one right there. This is like one big hand. Okay, but let's see what happens. So notice what I did. I gave a very simple outline with my pen. Oh, by the way, I didn't explain my materials. Big ballpoint and moleskin. That's it. All right. So now I outlined everything very lightly. You can see more of the side of this claw. As I'm traveling over here to the other side of the hand, where the other finger is coming out, this is going to be more top-down view. Right there, I did something beginners either skip, or because they don't want to, or they don't know to do this yet. And that is, even if your claws are close together, each one is going to get a different perspective. Because you have to imagine that these fingers and claws growing out of this larger shape. Well, the face of the larger shape changes. Okay, so you have this finger right here growing down there. You got this second finger growing up here. This is rounded. What do these fingers look like when they grow off of a rounded surface? They're going to change. If I were to draw one of these huge fingers growing up off the top right here, you would see a different angle. So I'm hoping that made sense, but it's more of you just having to bust out your sketchbooks and doodling this stuff and screwing up and figuring out, oh, I guess I was wrong, or hey, this looks right. But let's be even more imaginative than this. We have our initial base design for it. So I'm not going to make gangly, massively noticed knuckles. Let's just make kind of like a padding right here at the base, and then that's it. Maybe some wrinkles that come up. And then here, I'm going to put some spheres in. So these spheres are going to indicate that these are short, stubby little appendages coming off, and I don't need to go into a lot of detail about knuckles and tendons and everything. We're just going to keep them there. Okay, and just to pique interest a little bit more, instead of being symmetrical with it, I'm not going to put these on the other side. I could, but I'm not. Instead, I'm going to do something even crazier. I don't know why, but I just thought of a velociraptor. I'm going to do something like a velociraptor, but the nail isn't going to be as thick as it. So I'm just going to have this hook right here. Now, later on in the creature design process, even though I'm just drawing something that may look cool, I have to justify what the heck I'm doodling. That's the thing. Being a creature designer, especially with the fingers, it's no different than just drawing a creature and then just putting random spikes and tentacles and all that kind of cool looking stuff on the body. We have to have a function for this. And I tell my students all the time, hey, if you're going to draw multiple eyeballs on the head, you better tell me what each eye does instead of just drawing multiple eyes. All right, so we got this. Notice how I'm just working through the structure. So I have this this oval shape here. I have these spheres right here. There could be another sphere right there. Got these triangles, okay, a little curved like this. I'm keeping everything nice and loose because I'm not committing to anything 100% yet. This is still the exploratory phase. And I say this in many videos, where if you want to work in the video game industry, if you want to be a concept artist, then you have to be able to iterate like this and draw 15 to 20 more different creature hands for one beast that has already been chosen. You know, it's like drawing for the game Evolve or God of War or something, where you already know what the creature is going to be, but now you're going to have to give me multiple versions. Okay, and then I would just stop there. This is enough information for your team to go, oh, okay, I see what's going on. There's retractable finger there. There's two big kill hooking diggers right there, and then we got two crazy appendages on the side that maybe can help it hold something. So this is how you go through the design process of claws. Also, the thing with claws, before I end the lesson today, is you want to keep a theme going. Okay, themes are very important. Repetition is one of the principles of design anyway. And when you repeat elements, it's important that it looks intentional, for one, but two, this is going to be a family of form. Okay, you probably heard that term before. You hear it a lot if you're an automotive designer too. Family of form is, no matter what you're drawing, you want certain aspects to be repeated so that it looks cohesive. Okay, so these sharpened claws right here are kind of large. Guess where else on the creature I could possibly put those shapes? Maybe the beak. If I did a creature if this creature was bird-like, maybe the beak shape is kind of like that. Or, maybe it's smaller, almost like a mole. I don't know why I thought of a mole, but I'm looking at these appendages on the side, and they might be able to fit on a mole, so who knows. But I hope today's lesson was a lot of fun. And I also want to see what you doodled. I love looking at these doodles after you guys, hopefully pick up something cool from these videos. Check the links in the description below for our Creature Design Discord, because we are a big community. We grow every single day. New and bright artists are coming in and showing us their doodles and their sketches, entering contests. It's a lot of fun, but it's also good to get a sense of camaraderie and go through trials and tribulations together, because let's face it, drawing is tough. Being a concept artist is tough. Being a creature concept artist is one of the toughest things that you can do, because here we are inventing something that does not live on Earth, and yet we need to make it look like it could step out into an atmosphere on its own planet and live and breathe and run and do all that fun stuff. Okay, and check the links in the description below for my Creature Design for Film and Games class. Sign-ups are going on right now, and we are having our summer term at the end of July. If you miss summer term, don't worry, I teach other terms also throughout the year. So make sure you check out Computer Graphics Master Academy and the classes they have to offer. I've been teaching Creature Design for Film and Games for them for almost a decade. So can't believe it's been that long. Hopefully you enjoyed today's lesson, guys. Comment below, let me know what you're thinking, and I hope that you keep drawing regardless of how frustrated you get. I understand the frustrations. You're going to think that you suck every day until one day something clicks. All right? I'll see y'all next time. Peace.